Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie and television discussion in the multiverse. I am your host, Adam Portrais, and I'm joined today in his sweet little tux, Sweet Chauncey from the internet.
This is all considered continuity.
And of course, listen, it's not really so much a tux as it is penguin cosplay, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and so are you.
Oh, we are all prickly pears today, as it is the end of the year, and it's the HMP Decade Bash. Normally, we do regular end-of-the-year thing where we just talk about the best stuff that we reviewed all throughout the year. But no. It is the end of a decade, and therefore, we are covering the entire last decade, including, of course, everything up into this year. On this here episode, we've got a bunch of categories to go through, and as per usual on this show, we'll go through, we announce here's the category, we're going to go over the nominees for the category, and then we're going to kind of fight it out here, and the winner will happen in real time. That's how we do these HMP awards, everybody. And it kind of goes majority wins. So if, it's 2 against 1, we're going to go for the more popular opinion and everything. So that's how it works. And if we can't decide, we're going to fight it out, perhaps to the death. I don't really know. But first of all, let's just do this, guys. The last decade of superhero movies, who knew that we would even be here, doing this show, coming up on 300 episodes, where we were afraid that we would, run out of content really, really quick. What happened in this last 10 years?
We timed it just right.
We could have maybe gone a tad bit earlier, and even
we tried to do this show in 2005. It gets old fast.
That's true, but everything's kind of ramped up, and we've been getting more and more and more and more, and so much so that we can't even really cover it all. So, and here's the thing: on this episode and whatnot, we may skip some stuff that may have been the best. Please write us here, moviepodcast@gmail.com, and we'll talk about some of the ones that we may have missed. So,
I'll be mad if somebody doesn't write in with some.
Exactly, because while we cover a lot of stuff here, there's certainly not going to be everything, and it happens. Things get overlooked, and you forget about certain things, but. We'll do all things. So let's start it off. Well, actually, before we do that, I do want to say a big, giant thank you to everyone who supports this show over at patreon.com/HMP. You guys are honest and truly the backbone of this show, and we really appreciate you guys coming in every month. And really showing support, because there's a lot of other shows out there. You can listen to a lot of things and hear a whole bunch of advertisements, things that you don't want to hear. But for us, we would rather have you guys just say, hey, this show is worth this to me. And whether you're at the $1 level all the way up, we even have somebody at the top at $40 this month. Thank you to every single one of you. And for those of you that haven't, you do get a pre-show and a post-show, as well as a Dinger Zone, where we talk about, whatever topics of the day that we feel like talking about this year. This week, rather, which is at the end of the year. But this week, we're going to be talking about the past, present, and future of HMP, where this whole entire show is going to be coming. Like I said, we're coming up on 300 episodes here, and we've had some changes over the years, so we're going to talk about all those sort of things, and you can check that out by heading over to patreon.com/HMP today. And we'll talk a little bit more about those awesome Patreon people a little bit later in the program. But let's start it off with this one, boys. First award of the evening goes to Best Animated Hero Movie. I put this up top so Sean could get it out of his system first, and then we can just have a rest of the show nice, bright, and happy. Okay?
No, man. There's a lot of good things on this list.
So best,
although I will say that of everything listed here, there is one that is just tips and tails above everyone else.
I think this is going to be an easy one, despite it being a pretty packed category. Here's the best animated movie last 10 years: Big Hero 6, the Lego Batman movie, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, The Incredibles 2, or Teen Titans Go to the Movies. So, Sean, go ahead and give us your pick there, because I think we all see it coming down Front Street, and I think many would agree.
Well, let me do a breakdown if I can, like it's ESPN, right? So, Big Hero 6, Incredibles 2, and the Lego Batman movie are all very, very good movies. I enjoyed each of those movies individually. As a matter of fact, Big Hero 6 is one of my eldest daughter's favorite movies of the last decade.
Nice.
Teen Titans Go to the Movies. I realize that it has its fans. I am not one of them. I think that the game changer on here, the thing that is going to change the way that we animate superhero movies is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I think that it completely flipped everyone's what everyone thought about Sony when it came to making these movies. And so I am full on for voting for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse as the best animated hero movie of the decade.
Bruce, your thoughts?
Well, Big Hero 6 was a lot of fun. You know, a whole lot of changes from the source material, low expectations going into it. I kind of wanted to see it maybe launch a little bit of a franchise, you know, but there's still no talk as far as I know of a sequel to it, which I'm kind of surprised about. But then again, I think that speaks to the fact that it's largely maybe becoming a forgotten movie. Lego Batman movie was, for me at least, a victim of my own hype and anticipation. Like I just set the expectations bar way too high for it ever to live up to it. So even though it was a fine movie, a little bit of disappointment for me because, you know, I had put so much hope on what Will Arnett would do after how much I liked the Batman character from the Lego movie. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Miles Morales splashes onto the big screen for the first time. Every step of the way, this movie did it right. The story is right. The acting is right. The tone is right. The animation is right. Does so many good things. We're definitely getting another Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movie. Won an Oscar, for heaven's sake. That doesn't happen every day with superhero movies. Like not a special effects or makeup Oscar, but a Best Picture Oscar for Best Animated Movie. The Incredibles was never my cup of tea. Teen Titans Go to the Movies I liked more than most other folks did, but it just didn't make a big splash. So I'm with Sean on this one. It's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse from 2018 for me.
Yeah, 100% for me as well. Runaway category here, but again, I don't think that's too awful surprising to anyone who has seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. You're right. From just a storytelling perspective, from a visual perspective, I have not seen a movie connect like this with such a wide and varied audience. Honestly, since the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man, when you sat around, I saw like a sneak preview for Spider-Man. I sat around in the audience and I looked and I'm like, holy crap, every single demo is in here. It was old, it was young, it was black, it was white, it was everyone was in there and everyone loved it. And this was the exact same thing. Everybody loved this movie, and for good reason. And for something with Sony that, you know, should have been a giant debacle, and for someone who hasn't been hitting it out of the park with a lot of their, Spider-Man stuff as of lately, it was a gamble, and but it's one that certainly paid off and has really put Sony back on the spot as somebody to be contended with from time to time.
So nice Universal Award there on the first one, of course. I didn't really have much doubt that that's how that one was going to go.
Yeah. No, not quite. Moving on, next category here, Best Indie Hero Movie. These are independent comic books made into films, or indie as in we didn't spend a lot of money on them. Kingsman, The Secret Service, Split from 2016, Brightburn from 2019, Dread from 2012, and from 2017, Atomic Blonde.
And yeah, I mean, can I go first on this one?
Sure.
Yes, please.
So when it comes to like best indie hero movie of the decade, that's mainly, it's not Warner Brothers, Disney, Fox. So, you know, it's not DC or Marvel, more or less is what it boils down to. But this is what I would think is our emerging category. Like this is the one where people are just starting to dabble in it, but with the success we've had with Marvel specifically in the MCU, I expect this one to be like what's big in the next decade. Of course, I could be wrong. There have been a whole lot of misses like the Hellboy reboot and Power Rangers and such. But for me, this is a nice group of movies. I liked all of them. The oldest one on the list is Dread, but I'm going to go with Kingsman: The Secret Service because I found way more joy in that movie than I expected to. I'm really loving this franchise all of a sudden, this Kingsman franchise.
For me, I think I really got to go Dread from 2012. Seeing that was just, and the big thing is that it came out in theaters in a very, very small 3D release, practically no one saw it, and then it became a big hit on video, and everybody discovered it, and it was like watching The Raid, but with Judge Dredd, and it was absolutely awesome. A lot of great performances from everybody, and just, Carl Urban just killing it yet again.
Guys, do you mind if I do an ESPN-style breakdown again?
Please
do.
Okay, so here we go, right? So Atomic Blonde is the dud on this whole list, in my opinion. It completely crapped the bed from the moment that it was released.
If we were given awards for trailers, though, it might win.
Yeah, it has a great trailer, and I've already professed how much I love Charlize Theron in the pre-show here. She's great. She is wrong for this role. When it comes to Brightburn is one of those movies where it's like, oh man, that's really clever. Good job, everybody. But it's not something where you're like, man, that really changed the way I think about stuff.
Yeah.
Then you got the two that are disappointments to me because of what they did to them later. These movies themselves, I mean, Kingsman: The Secret Service is a fantastic movie. That first one is great. But the second one is such a bummer. It's such a letdown. And even from the trailer, you want to talk about good trailer? Let's talk about bad trailer, where you know already what the secret is of that movie before you ever see the movie. That is straight hogwash.
Boy, do I like skipping most trailers.
I won't stand for it. Say what?
Boy, do I like skipping a lot of trailers, because I try not to see as much as I can, because there is stuff like that is absolutely infuriating.
I couldn't believe it. Anyway, so, and then you got Split, which had the biggest turnaround of any filmmaker in years that I can possibly think of. Because if I saw M. Night Shyamalan's name attached to a movie, I would have been like, nope. But then he made this, and this is terrific. And it even has the twister at the end of the movie that he puts in all his movies, and this one worked. And it worked so well that he made another one. And that one is not nearly as good as Split is. Split is such a good movie. Which brings us to Dredd. And Dredd is one of those movies where I can't remember if I was dragged kicking and screaming to it, or if it's something where I was like, you know what? The right people keep telling me that this is a movie to see. And so I saw it, and I hadn't seen The Raid yet. And so when I first saw this thing, it was like, this is wholly new, and I love everything about this thing. And so I just really like Dredd and the tone of it, and it's filthy, and it's gross, and it's scary, and it's great. And so for me, best indie hero movie, I've got to nominate Dredd.
All right, so that is it, everybody. Dredd as your best indie hero movie of the last decade, as decreed by us right here, right now. Moving on to our next category,
good folks who brought you the internet.
Indeed. Best hero comedy film, and the nominees are from 2016.
This is a really tough one for me, I'm not going to lie.
From 2016, Deadpool. The next one is the Lego Batman movie from 2017, 2019's Shazam, and 2014's Guardians of the Galaxy, and 2017's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Oh, man. Why don't you go first on this one, Adam?
Okay. For me, listen, I think it's unmistakable that everyone loves Deadpool. It was just another thing that was just a bright, shining beacon that we all didn't really know that we needed. And the fact that, that it was pulled off as well as it was really shocking. The way that it got to us via the footage leak and all that kind of jazz. Really awesome. Lego Batman we talked about before. As much as I enjoyed that movie, I don't think it's pretty much bottom of the list here. Shazam, big surprise. That was, again, a DC doing great movies that are very relatable and have like a nice lot of heart to it, and you felt good at the end of it, as opposed to, drab and dreary and brown. So Shazam was a great one too. With the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, I certainly enjoyed Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, but I got to go with Guardians of the Galaxy as my winner for Best Comedy Film, because it is going to be one of those films that there's going to be a certain type of kid that saw that movie, and that is his Star Wars. That's what he's coming back to. And I before Guardians of the Galaxy 2 came out, I mean, I heard two kids in the theater talk about like, oh man, the new Guardians of the Galaxy 2 trailer is about to come out. I'm so excited. And I was like, what world are we living in where like, 11-year-old kids are talking about seeing a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and you realize it's because it's a fantastic film. As good as 2 is, I got to go the original Guardians of the Galaxy 2014 for my winner of Best Hero Comedy Film.
Why don't you go next, Sean?
All right. I'm going to keep breaking it down until you guys tell me I can't do that anymore. All right. So I don't think, and don't get me wrong here, I love Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is not a comedy. I think that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is disguised like it's supposed to be a comedy. However, it is a coming-of-age story, and it deals with massive, massive issues where, let's say I've seen the movie 5 times. I've cried 3 out of the 5 times I've seen that movie. Yeah. And so I cannot put that as best hero comedy film. Lego Batman movie, it has its good moments. It is not in any way surprising. They don't throw you a left hook at all. It's fine. Shazam is the big surprise. Shazam was the movie where when I saw it, that first half hour, if you guys remember, that first half hour of Shazam, you're like, I don't know. And then Zachary Levi shows up. And then the entire movie is laid in front of you and you go, this movie is great. Yeah. I love Shazam. However, the 2 biggest comedies, because everyone keeps saying how the comedy is dead, the 2 biggest comedies of this decade are both superhero movies. They are Guardians of the Galaxy and they are Deadpool. And Deadpool made me laugh more. There's a lot more there's a lot more humor in it. But Guardians of the Galaxy to me is one of my favorite films. For all the reasons that Adam said. Adam, you had an excellent point when you had said that, there are kids that this is their Star Wars. I wholeheartedly believe that. I think that is absolutely the case. But more so, it's one of those movies where it's so well done that it makes your jaw drop how good it is. Especially, I mean, the ending is great to it. It's cast so perfectly. And who thought we would ever care about these characters ever? And it's why I just go, oh, Marvel's making that? Yep, we're good. Let's do it.
Yeah, I just think in a decade from now, when you look back, you're going to go, as far as like quality of full movie overall, Guardians would beat out Deadpool, I believe.
Now, so you voted for Guardians of the Galaxy 2014, Sean?
I did indeed, sir.
Well, I'm going to give it my own quicker version of a breakdown, but I'm going to start with...
you're going to break it down?
Break it down!
Hey, why don't you break that down, Bruce?
Break it on down!
You guys may be shocked to hear this because of how dour I am most of the time, but this is my favorite category of hero movie. This is what I look forward to the most. This is what gives me the most joy. Lego Batman had some great jokes in it, like really good jokes, and it had jokes that were like for me. There were deep dive comic book jokes that are maybe going over the head of a lot of the audience, but I'm still getting a little chuckle from them. But the movie as a whole was only, okay. Shazam was a big shocker and it had a lot of heart. But I think what you say about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Sean, I probably say a little bit about Shazam. I mean, the whole issue of foster children is kind of something that's special to me. So I see that in a broader spectrum. But once again, it also has the deep dive comic book jokes with I don't want to say a whole lot about the
don't say a lot,
but you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I do.
Now, Guardians of the Galaxy, great movie. In fact, when I saw it, I was pretty sure that it could be my favorite MCU movie ever. The first Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 has Drax talking about his famously huge turds. So that's hard. That's my kind of joke right there. The famously.
Yeah, that is a fastball. That is a Leslie fastball right there.
But then again, Guardians of the Galaxy has the line I'm most likely to quote from any superhero movie, which is, I'm distracting you, you giant turd blossom. I use that one a lot too. Deadpool, hilarious movie, well-made movie, good superhero movie. but it suffers from the fact that it was so beloved that it got a little overdone out in the community. You know what I mean? I had to hear far more Deadpool jokes and references, particularly from my middle child, probably more than anyone else. But I had to hear it kind of reminded me of the summer when Ace Ventura: Pet Detective came out. You know, you've had enough. You've had enough. So all of that being said, I think I've got to look instead of having a 3-way tie, a 4-way tie. I've got to look to the wisdom of my co-hosts to help tip the balance there. And I was worried the Guardians of the Galaxy vote might get split, but I'm going to go with Guardians of the Galaxy 2014, making this unanimous.
Boom.
Woo! We in lockstep, bro.
And also, of note, Guardians of the Galaxy 2014, first HMP entry to get all Dick Graysons.
Oh.
So there you go. First one awarded. Well, here at HMP, we're also a little bit like the facts of life. You take the good and you take the bad. So we have to step away from the good stuff for half a second to start talking about some of the worst moments in nerd movies in the last 10 years. And here are the nominees.
I'm such a Joe.
Han Solo speaking Wookiee in the Solo film. Oh, boy. Scarlet Witch's accent in Avengers Age of Ultron. Hawkeye's haircut in Endgame, General Leia Organa's getting blown back into her ship after being blasted into space, or Aquaman's quote of, "My man." Oh, boy.
I think I should go first on this
All
one.
right.
Because,
Please.
first off, what some people would call the worst moment, maybe some of what I call bright spots in a dark universe. So I want to start off talking about Han Solo speaking Wookiee. And the only reason that that's bad is because it wasn't Harrison Ford. Because you can't tell me, if we didn't have like a 15-second clip of Han Solo, a.k.a. like the Harrison Ford version, trying with Harrison Ford's world famous enthusiasm for the role.
Known worldwide.
50 seconds of him sounding like he's gargling and then spitting to Chewbacca. That would be the greatest moment in history. But because it's not Harrison Ford, it gets flipped over to the worst moment. I don't think that's fair. Scarlet Witch's accent in Avengers Age of Ultron, I don't even really remember it that much, so it can't be that bad. Like, it's nowhere near, if we were talking about a different decade, Halle Berry's changing accent through the 3 X-Men movies. So I don't think it's that bad. Hawkeye's haircut is a crime against humanity. I mean, there's no two ways about it. And what's worse is, like, Jeremy Renner, he knows better, man. I don't know whose idea the haircut was, but couldn't he put up a little bit of a fight about that? He used to do makeup. He knows what he's doing when it comes to fashion. General Leia Organa, let's call that what it was, man. That is Mary Poppins flying back to the spaceship. That's known as Leia's Mary Poppins scene. Yeah. Aquaman's "My man" is one of the greatest lines in the history of aquatic themes.
What a crock.
I would say that is best moment in nerd movie, not worst. Definitely my favorite moment in a great movie. So I'm going to have to go.
Favorite moment in a great movie?
Yes.
Who are you?
I've got to go with Hawkeye's haircut because imagine you went to the barber. He didn't let you see a mirror. He said, "Trust me." And then he sent you out looking like that. It would not be pretty for that barber.
You want me to?
Yeah, you go.
All right. So here's the deal, right? So Aquaman's my man. That is just the worst.
Gosh.
That is the worst. and I think it's funny that your rose-colored glasses looking at that movie, Bruce, because we thought it was fine. We were surprised that it was fine, if you remember.
We were going the Citizen Kane of superhero films.
When no one thought that. As much as I can't stand the Leia getting blasted out of the ship and then Mary Poppins getting herself back into the ship, I really can't stand that. There's no way I am ever going to vote that Carrie Fisher is the worst moment in nerd movies. I'm just not going to do it. Hawkeye's haircut in Endgame is unfortunate. However, if you look at my hairstyles throughout the years, there's going to be a few where you are laughing out loud.
There's a couple of gems in there.
Yes. And then when it comes to Scarlet Witch's accent in Avengers Age of Ultron, she almost sounds like she's trying to do a Dracula accent at times. Which is hilarious.
It'd be great if she was
funny.
in interviews and just goes, "Oh, where'd you get this Dracula?" That was just her answer for how she came up with it. Dracula.
But you guys know what my favorite movie series of all time is. It's Star Wars, and I give Solo, a Star Wars story, the benefit of the doubt. I think that it's a pretty good movie. It was just wrong-headed. You don't make that movie without Harrison Ford doing something in it, and it's fine. But when Han Solo starts talking to Chewie in Wookiee, I had to go, absolutely not, no. And so for me, I'm voting worst moment in a nerd movie for this decade is Han Solo speaking Wookiee.
Oh, so are we going to have a tiebreaker or a three-way tie here, Adam?
Well, here's the thing. Scarlet Witch, that's neither here nor there for me. Hawkeye, terrible, but, I got over it quick. Leia, it's fine for what it is. And again, it's not that movie's worst crime by any stretch of the imagination. Now, most people would think, and I think usually rightfully so, that Aquaman's my man. It would be my vote. And while that is absolutely horrible, they did it enough in trailers and advertisements and stuff to where, I knew it was coming. It didn't feel like a real punch to the gut. But there was only one of these that in the theater made me squirm and go disgusting, and that's Han Solo speaking Wookiee, because it was just, it felt like such a... Boy, were they just trying so hard, and it's like when your mom goes and tries to make like a cool joke. And it just doesn't work. And you're like, you know what, Mom? I mean, you tried. You certainly didn't hit it, but boy, did you try. So let's not try next time, shall we? So Han Solo speaking Wookiee, worst nerd movie moment in the last 10 years, everybody.
In this decade.
But my man's cool. It's not bad.
Oh, buddy.
I want it to be my ringtone.
No. Well, you should totally make it your ringtone.
We just I see him doing it as a text sound. So every time it just goes, my man, my man, my man, my man. Whenever someone just starts having a big giant
man, can you imagine how much your wife is gonna hate it every time you get a text, Bruce? Oh my God,
my man, is that those HMP idiots again? What a bunch of crap. Before we get going on to the rest of the program, though, again, do want to say big, giant thank you to everyone who supports over at patreon.com/HMP. It's because of you awesome people that this show continues to roll in and month out. We don't do this on the show too often because there's a decent list of names here and everything, but I do want to read off some names just because you guys are all awesome, and I think you all deserve the credit and my love and thanks. And so we're going to rattle off a couple names. Thank you so much to Tom, Warren, Rocket Face, Steve, Open Comic Adventure, Monica. Those guys are all in the $1 level. We got Lewis, we got Michael, Apollonius, Peter. These guys are in the $2. We got Marlon, Bo, Gregory, Curtis, Lee, Anthony, Anthony King, Anthony Phillips, Ollie, Gemma, Gorgon, Josh, David, John, Robert, Mike, Matthew, Redneck Saints, Kevin Jones, Matthew Van Diver, a recent convert over here. We also got Matthew, Nate Stewart, Robert Barney, Christopher, Maggie, John Bajusi, of course, Amber, Walter, Krista, Jean-Francois, Brian, Ken, Khalil, Nick, Timothy. These guys are all the most popular $5 levels. And, of course, executive producers for this show, Alex and Matthew Schnapp. Thank you guys so much. And, of course, the big donor this month goes up to Tim, who is in the $40 level. Again, thank you so much to all of you guys. You are so awesome, and I appreciate every single one of you so very much. And I hope you know that. So, yeah.
Thank you, folks.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
Let's move it on. Let's get to some happier stuff here. Let's get away from the negative and start getting into the positive, okay? Let's get some positive vibes going, everybody. Best Hero TV Series. The nominees are Legion on FX, Daredevil from Netflix, from HBO, Watchmen, The Mandalorian from Disney+, Jessica Jones from Netflix, and Doom Patrol from DC Direct.
run it down for us, Sean. You go first here.
Oh man. Okay.
This is tough because this is a stacked category. All of these are great shows.
And it's also a little unfair in a way because a couple of these only have half of them only have one season, and then the other ones have potential baggage with them. So, yeah, break it down for us, Sean, as if you were Sweet Fonzie from ESPN.
So all of these shows are fantastic. So, me saying that one is lesser than the other is just through because these other shows are just so bloody good. I love Legion. I love it, but it's not the best show on here. Jessica Jones, the first season of that was terrific, but the other two seasons a little lacking. And also, when you think about that first season of Jessica Jones, there's like 2 episodes they could have totally not had, and it would have been just fine. I love Doom Patrol so very, very much. But it is also one of those shows where let's see where it's going.
Yeah.
It's terrific. It out-weirds Legion, which is not a thing I thought was a thing. And Daredevil, I really, really hope they bring that over to Disney Plus. But it's really down to Watchmen and The Mandalorian, and it's up to taste as far as I'm concerned. Because these two shows are as good as it's going to get for these two things. I don't believe that we are going to see another superhero show on the level of expertise that Watchmen is made on. It's deep. You can go into it as much as you want to, and you could have material for a year on just how deep that show is. Whereas with The Mandalorian, it's all about theme, and it's all about look, and it's all about living in that universe. And they do that very, very well. So basically, it comes down to the best superhero show we're going to have for years to come, or the best version of Star Wars that we've gotten in 10 years. And the only reason why I'm picking The Mandalorian is because I am, first and foremost, I am a Star Wars fan. And so that's the only reason why I'm choosing The Mandalorian as my favorite hero TV series of the decade.
Very nice.
I'll go next here, Adam.
Okay.
I think Legion was slow to win me over, and I was never barreling into it as strongly as you guys were, I don't think. But it definitely did win me over, but it took some time. I feel a little bit uncomfortable sometimes watching shows that deal a whole lot with hallucinations and delusions and sort of psychiatric issues. Sometimes I feel a little uncomfortable with that. Daredevil, I think as a whole, the best Marvel show that Netflix had, but you could have trimmed a little bit of fat here and there. As much as I like some of the early seasons, some of the later seasons didn't seem to keep it up. Watchmen was a show I was going into with not just a chip on my shoulder, with a chip on both shoulders, one on my head, maybe one on my hip. Like I was just waiting for the slightest misstep so I could unload on that show. And not once did they give me a chance to unload on that show. Plus, there's the idea that maybe this is it, which is pretty smart, and definitely no fat to trim, if you ask me, on Watchmen. The Mandalorian, I had low expectations. It's a lot of fun. I really think it's a good story. It's done well. It looks good. It feels good. It's like hot soup on a cold day. It just gives me a lot of comfort, but it's maybe not like high dining, not something that's going to get a Michelin star or anything. Jessica Jones, that first season was really impactful and amazing, and I loved it. But like Sean said, they could have trimmed a little bit of fat there. Doom Patrol is fun and weird, but I don't really know that it's saying much to me on a personal level. So I got to go with Watchmen because for me, I did not expect to like Watchmen nearly as much as I did, and I couldn't imagine anyone doing that show any better.
Yeah, kind of a lot of the same sentiments for me. Jessica Jones kind of falls at the bottom just because seasons 2 and 3 just were fine, but they certainly weren't nearly as compelling as the first season was. Doom Patrol was pretty great. I'll be honest, they haven't put out season 2 yet, have they? I know they were shooting at some point.
Not yet.
Okay, so it's like I felt at the same time too. I was just like, oh shoot, season 2 of Doom Patrol could be out right now, and I don't really know it. So I don't really like that one's just not pulling me in as much. I think of all of us, I was probably the biggest Legion fan. Sean just slightly there behind for sure. I can't believe that show hit television and had as many seasons as it did. It's kind of astounding that it got that far. And that people just allowed it. People allowed that show on television. It's kind of astounding to me. Absolutely love Daredevil. I think it is really one of the cornerstones of superhero television shows, and I think that's going to be one that people kind of go back to and point at and be like, are you at least as good as Daredevil? You know? Because I think there's going to be a time where we're thinking of comic book television shows pre and post things like Daredevil. I think that was a very defining line in the sand, much Batman 89, if you will. Mandalorian and Watchmen, these are the two tough ones. Obviously, I really, really love The Mandalorian. It took a while for it to kind of solidify and everything, but ultimately, I've got to go Watchmen here because, frankly, I was the exact same way. I don't think that there was anything in me that thought this was going to be a great series. I thought, if anything, it would be very ambitious, have a lot of really huge swings. But could ultimately miss and fall on its face really, really horribly. And the fact that they did what they did and wrapped everything up in, you know, sometimes uncharacteristically of Lindelof, it's kind of awesome and really the possibility that it's a one and done. And I'm so glad that we got to have that event. So I got to go Watchmen.
Cool. It's an excellent choice. I almost picked it myself.
Yeah, it's close. Mandalorian really, especially, I mean, if you'll listen to our Mandalorian 30 Questions episode, available wherever you find finer podcasts, I really enjoyed that finale and everything, and I want so much more of that show. So as far as going on, I'm super excited that show is going to be able to continue. And speaking of continuing, we're going to continue on here and talk about series we wish that would continue. Here are the nominees. We have Watchmen, Legion, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, or Luke Cage. If and you could start any one of these up for another season, which one would it be?
Well, I'll go first here. And I'll just mention the glaring omission of Gotham. Nobody wants Gotham to go on.
I think you realize that for on purpose. It's a good reason it's not there.
Well, man, so the first point here, with Watchmen is it's like one of those, do I want it to go on? Or is it like just fine how it is? And if it does go on, it's probably going to have a different showrunner. But then again, that showrunner is going to be tied to the first season and be familiar and care about it. And it left some things that could be fun to deal with. And there's the possibility they find a way to tell the story so it still doesn't even get to like the cliffhanger on the first one. There's so many interesting things I could do with Watchmen. So I'm torn there. Legion, Legion ended and that story felt complete for sure. I don't think I want that one to go on. Daredevil, yeah, it'd be nice to see Daredevil go on just because I like the character. I like the costume. Jessica Jones, I think that would have worked better if it was just like one season than have her show up in other stuff. Luke Cage, you could do a lot of fun stuff with Luke Cage. Luke Cage could go on forever. That's a evergreen kind of concept. But if I'm going to tell everybody the truth after how I waffled so much, I'm going to go with Watchmen again.
Wow.
I like the delivery system. I like the it's on pretty solid ground with HBO. Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, those would all kind of like have to be revamped from the ground up. So I'm going with Watchmen.
Good answer. Sean, what do you got?
Well, this one isn't very hard for me because I think that Jessica Jones and Luke Cage would be great on Daredevil as people who come in for an episode or two. Mm-hmm. Oh boy, that's going to be a real terrific show. Legion, we're done. We don't need another Legion. It's terrific where it is. It ended well. Let's leave as lie. Watchmen, I think I've said this to you guys already. I don't want to see another season. If they make it, I'll watch it, of course.
Yeah.
But I don't want another season. I think that it ended perfectly. I think that as this 9-episode series, it is perfect and untouchable, and I don't want them to go back. But I also said the same thing about Watchmen, the TV series. Please don't make this. I can remember thinking to myself, but they did. And it's terrific. But I would rather not have another series of Watchmen. So for me, it's about Daredevil. You know, Netflix got Daredevil right. So just bring everybody over, make more Daredevil, bring in your characters that, you know, might not need their own show. I think Luke Cage is one of those people who could have his own show, but Jessica Jones is not. She's cool as a garnish, as a side dish.
Yeah, as is Iron Fist. Iron Fist could be a nice little garnish that you put in a Luke Cage show.
I never want to see that. I never want to see that incarnation of Iron Fist ever again. I'm thinking more like Punisher would be fine.
Fair.
For me, it's all Daredevil.
Yeah, I'm Team Daredevil as well. I really think that it is one of those series that, of all the Marvel on Netflix series, it is the one that consistently for 3 seasons just put out just banger episodes. It was so good. It got so comic booky, and just you can't. The cast, it's just perfect. It's just a great, perfect show, and I hope in some way, shape, or form they can take that and bring that over to some sort of Disney Plus thing or whatever. Just make more of that Daredevil. I enjoy it.
Please.
Next category, we're on to Best Hero. This is the male category. The nominees are Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, Christian Bale as Batman, Tom Holland as Spider-Man, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, or Chris Evans as Captain America. Another very stacked category.
I think you're up to hit leadoff on this one, Adam.
This is a tough one, but look, here's the deal. We're going via the decade. And if we're going via the decade, we have to talk about the person who has had the most impact on all of comic book filmdom in one man, and that man's name is Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. From an Australian actor that no one knew who he was way too tall for Wolverine, and we had no clue who this guy was, to now become one of the biggest names, not only in Hollywood, but in the world. And he's defined by so many roles, but this role is the role that made Hugh Jackman, and the role that he'll be remembered for the rest of his life. And from his debut in the X-Men movie, which I know is outside of the 10 years, but shut your face. Is it? Or is that 99 or is that 2000? Anyways.
It's 2000.
Either way, it's out of the decade.
Either way, there you go. Whatever. But Hugh Jackman as Wolverine really just kind of kills this. And I love Captain America, Spider-Man, the Batman. Again, stacked giant category. But I'm going Hugh Jackman as Wolverine because just from the impact alone, you can't beat that.
Well, I'll go next here. So I'm going to start off with Christian Bale. Christian Bale, mostly last decade. He had one movie, The Dark Knight Rises, where he was Batman. Pretty good. I think it's fair to say that people loved Christian Bale as Batman, but I think it's because they loved the movies as much as anything, more than just that actor. But it's still pretty iconic. But he's got one movie in the decade. I don't think he had a grand exit on screen. For some reason, that just kind of taints it just a little bit. I'll move on to Spider-Man. Tom Holland, clearly the best Spider-Man we've ever had. Mm-hmm. Spider-Man, right up there with Batman in terms of popularity as a character around the world for many, many years. I really love Tom Holland as Spider-Man, where he's had 3 good performances that we've gotten to see, and I think he's going to stick around for a while. But he's up against some tall competition. Chris Evans, Captain America. People love that character. They love Chris Evans. No shortage of Chris Evans fans out there. He had a really nice farewell on screen. With these last 3, I'm putting that into the mix just as much as anything else. Chris Evans had that wonderful farewell where he got to grow old. Hugh Jackman also got to grow old and die on screen. He did both. He grew old and died on screen. But Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, I can't think of any actor-character combination as iconic of that, save one. And that's Iron Man and Robert Downey Jr. And as much as I love Hugh Jackman, everything he does, the guy is wonderful. I love him. I love seeing a movie that is not necessarily a good movie is immensely enjoyable when Hugh Jackman is in it, like The Greatest Showman. Not a great movie, but because of him alone, it really has me enjoying it. I've seen it a couple of times. But Robert Downey Jr., there's something magical about him. I don't know if maybe it's just he appeals to me specifically more than these other guys, but I feel like he's got a pretty good following around the world. And his ending, his farewell, his whole character arc, the whole character arc that they did was really remarkable. It was, the roots were laid down from the very beginning, and his sort of PTSD character arc, and then his redemption there at the end, the self-sacrifice, everything about that whole pairing was perfect. And I can't picture anyone else playing the person with crippling fear and anxiety and snarkiness in equal parts the way Robert Downey Jr. did. So an uninspired vote perhaps, but I'm going with Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man.
Hey, I like it.
I'm not going to break anything down. It's been broken down. Best hero of the decade, it's Robert Downey Jr., and it's not even close. It's not remotely close. There is a franchise that is now into its 25th movie, and it's because of Robert Downey Jr.
And working on its like third billion or fourth billion now.
Yeah, and it's all because of this guy. The reason why you could in that first phase specifically, Marvel was making a lot of bad moves. You know, the first Thor movie isn't great. That second Iron Man movie is almost unwatchable at this point. But they could keep going forward because they had Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, and they could get to, as long as they could get to Avengers, it was going to be fine. And they did, and they nailed it. And the reason why is because of Robert Downey Jr. I rest my case, Your Honor.
Hey, I think it's a fantastic case to be had. So there you have it, everybody. Best male hero of the year, Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. Decade, rather. Excuse me. I keep forgetting. We're in the decades here. Now on to Best Female Hero of the Decade, and here are the nominees. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, Brie Larson as Captain Marvel, Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow, Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, and Daisy Ridley as Rey. I think we're at Sean now.
Oh, is it me?
Yeah, talk to us about the ladies.
Okay. All right. So all of these people are terrific. All these ladies are terrific in their roles. I enjoy each performance. Maybe Margot Robbie not so much, but everybody else is pretty great. But again, you have Robert Downey Jr. in the Marvel universe. In the DC universe, you have Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, and that is your main person. That is your linchpin. Gal Gadot, I think I said this maybe on the show a couple of weeks ago. I thought I was over her. You know, we hadn't seen her in a while. I was like, man, look, I that cleared up. I don't need to worry about Gal Gadot anymore. And then I saw the trailer for Wonder Woman 1984, and I got it bad again. Because Gal Gadot is amazing as Wonder Woman. And so for me, not even close. Heads and tails above the rest, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman.
I'll go ahead. I'll echo that sentiment 100%. She just is like, even in, I say one movie, one starring movie. She's had the others, but how much can you really count those? But with her role in Wonder Woman was just so fantastic. She's become such an iconic person just on account of this one role alone. And, she's joined the pantheon of, names when you think of Wonder Woman. You got Linda Carter, Gal Gadot. I mean, they're almost, synonymous at this point because they go directly to Wonder Woman. And she's fantastic. A lot of great performances from other actresses here. But by and large, by a long shot, rather, Gal Gadot wins this as Wonder Woman for me.
So I feel like I'm facing the crisis that has always faced a representative democracy, and that is my first obligation to try to represent my constituents. Is my job? Of
course, you toe the party line, you son of a.
Or is my first responsibility to do what I really want to do and to vote the way I really want to vote? And I guess I'm going to go with, even though this may not be what the folks who I'm trying to represent here would say, I'm going to say for me, as wonderful as all these folks have been in all their roles, the one that I just always thought is the coolest. I mean, it just comes down to that. Looks coolest, acts coolest. I really like the character. Character is a complex character. And I'm going to go with Rey and Daisy Ridley. I mean, Wonder Woman's already won the category, so my vote is only one of I'm the dissenting vote on the Supreme Court here, so I'm writing the minority opinion. But I really love Rey. I think that a lot of moviegoers have had tons of negative things to say about the character, but I really, really enjoy Daisy Ridley as Rey. Not that I don't enjoy these other folks, but it just feels kind of cool and special there to me.
No, she's great. There's no doubt about that. So.
Oh yeah, I love Rey. Daisy Ridley is magical in that role.
And maybe some recency bias there too, because I've seen that most recently. But yeah, still big on Rey.
It happens. All right, let's move it on to our next category, Best Villain, and the nominees are Josh Brolin as Thanos, Tom Hiddleston as Loki, Joaquin Phoenix as Joker, Michael Keaton as Vulture, or Cate Blanchett as Hela, rather.
And I think I'm up to lead off.
This is a tough one.
Yeah, this is pressured. So I'm going to just go first off with Loki. Hard to call Loki a villain at this point, just because he's become so entrenched, and they've even sort of retconned some of his villainous actions to say he was under the influence of the gem that he was carrying and stuff like that. So Tom Hiddleston, cool guy, a lot of fun. Loki, an awesome character, but just not enough of a villain to be considered a villain. Joker, Joaquin Phoenix. This is tough because this is an excellent performance. But I don't know, am I voting on the performance or am I voting on the character and like the movie's wonderful, but we said even when we reviewed the movie, it'd be hard for us to imagine that Joker throwing punches with Ben Affleck or Christian. So that makes that one a little bit tricky. Now, Thanos is easy. People love Thanos. You know, the Grimace that's what Star-Lord called him, Grimace, the Balchini. Grimace. Yeah, Josh Brolin, a great actor. Thanos really, really rocked superhero movies in the past decade. He had his master plan. Cate Blanchett, cool, but I feel like she almost got hijacked from her own movie at times because that turned into a whole different thing than what I thought for most of it. But, you know, we're probably never going to get another chance. I shouldn't say never. Never say never. Probably never going to get another chance to see Michael Keaton in a Spider-Man movie again or even a Marvel movie. So I really got to say I got one vote. I'm going to go ahead and give it to the Vulture as portrayed by Michael Keaton. I love that performance.
You think the odds of him coming back are slim?
Yeah, I never say never, but slim, sure.
I feel like he has to come back.
Well, I hope you're right.
Yeah, that's me, maybe. Sean, what do you think?
Well, I'm gonna make this brief. My love of Michael Keaton is well documented. He's one of my favorite actors. I think he is so good as the Vulture in Spider-Man. I love him to death. But there is only one villain who can take on an entire cinematic universe, and we're like, yeah, I could totally see that. And so it's Josh Brolin as Thanos. That is the right answer. Because if you have a different actor in that role, who do you get? Who do you get as the character and make it as wonderful as Josh Brolin was in this movie, in these movies? I can't think of anyone better cast for that. He is remarkable in the role. And it seems like one of those roles also where, Andy Serkis somewhere was like, it should have been me, damn it. It should have been me. But It wasn't. It was Josh Brolin. So Josh Brolin as Thanos gets my vote.
Yeah, it's Josh Brolin as Thanos for me as well. I like all these people. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix performance as Joker was fantastic. Vulture just awesome. I never thought I could find Cate Blanchett even more attractive, but give her that hairdo and makeup job, and that seems to do it. But Thanos is just awesome. He's all around awesome, and he's really permeated not just comic book culture and things of that nature and people that didn't know his name before. He's become like part of like the meme verse and everything. Like snapping is a thing. People understand what you mean when you say you're going to snap someone away. It's just like when even the normies are getting in on Thanos stuff and they know his name. Yeah, exactly. Normies like my mom. If my mom knows who Thanos is, and that's amazing to me right now, So, yeah, I got to go best villain of the decade. We got to go Thanos on this one. Next category up, Best Hero Movie Duo. We have Captain America and Bucky, Nick Fury and Maria Hill, Tony Stark and Peter Parker, Deadpool and Dopinder, or Wolverine and X-23. And since I am up now, I'm going to go Peter Parker and Tony Stark. It's not even close. These two together, having that father and son relationship kind of thing going on, mentor-mentee, and really giving us, in a sense, the Uncle Ben story without actually having Uncle Ben. And that feat in and of itself should be worthy of a giant award. So I'm going Tony Stark and Peter Parker, Best Hero Movie Duo.
Sean?
It's my turn?
I think I lose track sometimes.
Sure, why not?
Me too, man. There's only two that pop out to me here. Tony Stark and Peter Parker, or Wolverine and X-23, because I really, really enjoyed watching those two together. Because I've been in such lockstep with Adam, I'm going to go opposite of that this round and go Wolverine and X-23. Because if I could see a continuation of that, it would be with X-23. Like if that universe kept going, which thankfully it will not, but I would have totally watched something moving forward with X-23. So I'm going to go Wolverine and X-23.
Hey, it's a good choice.
I'm going to go with Tony Stark and Peter Parker for all the reasons that Adam said. Not only a cool combination and great on-screen chemistry, and it was written well, but it's something that's kind of new for the movies. That's not a relationship that really exists in quite that way in the comics, at least not predating the movies here. So I really enjoyed that a lot.
Can I have? Can I be fake shocked? Do you guys mind?
Please.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I can't believe you chose that. Now I'm going to use fake outrage. You guys are insane and stupid. Okay, please continue.
Oh,
and
word.
Regardless of what our rotation order is, I'd like Sean to go last on the next one. He's the voice.
Oh, very good.
The decider. This one's going to be a tough category here. Best Star Wars movie of the decade, and I think you'll all be surprised at how many we've actually had when you think about it. The Force Awakens from 2015, Rogue One from 2016, The Last Jedi from 2017, Solo from 2018, or from 2019, The Rise of Skywalker. And they were like, do we need to take a break from Star Wars? Listen to all those films in that short amount of time. My goodness.
Yeah, 5 movies in the decade. For me, it's a 2-horse race. I loved Rogue One. I think a lot of people loved Rogue One, but I loved Rogue One. That was my favorite of this batch. The Last Jedi, I really liked that one too. I really liked that it was trying to do something, trying to say something. I thought it was pretty cool. But nostalgia wins out with me. Maybe nostalgia is a cheap way to go with it. But Rogue One was just like this thing of beauty to me. I was fortunate that I had no idea where the story was going. I know that maybe you guys before seeing it kind of knew how it had to go. For whatever reason, I managed to maintain some blissful ignorance, and they just pulled off what to me was something beautiful that I didn't think they would have the guts to do in a movie that could potentially launch its own sub-franchise. And I was just in awe at it from beginning to end, saw it happening, couldn't believe it would happen, and then it happened. So Rogue One gets my vote.
Yeah, I'm right in step with you, Bruce. All of these, I like most of these movies more or less. Probably towards the bottom is Solo, maybe Last Jedi, just a step above that. And again, I don't hate those movies either. But for me, really, the movie that kind of sticks out the most of this last decade, and the one that I think is going to have, as far from a visual, a tonal sensibility and everything, Rogue One is going to be the movie that really kind of started a different time for Star Wars. I think it gave us a whole new feel. It gave us the idea that we could go outside of this kind of Skywalker universe. It seemed to be loved by just about everybody. And it's a really great time, and I think it was the first light on the horizon that was what will become Star Wars in the next decade.
All right, guys, if we can bring it in for a second, take a knee.
Sure.
Look, I know you guys are giving 110% this episode, and I'm really proud of you both. You're doing a great job. You're wrong-headed, the both of you. Rogue One is fine. Rogue One is a fine movie. As I've said previously, I'm going to get a certain baseline level of enjoyment out of every Star Wars movie. That to me, Rogue One is a fine movie. Force Awakens brings us all back. Not all of us. Some people are like, hey, this isn't my Star Wars. Thank you, but no thank you. That happens with this movie. Then you got Solo, which is, it's the redheaded stepchild of this whole thing. Rise of Skywalker, they rushed it. Let's be fair. Everybody who was making these movies wanted to get out of making these movies, so that's why it feels the way it does. It's good. It's a good movie still. But it's still Star Wars. It's not the best of these. The one that I find is the most rewatchable, the one that has the most relevance, the one that has the most beautiful shots of any Star Wars is The Last Jedi. What they're trying to get across is basically the Bad News Bears. It's Bad News Bears in space, and they did it. And that's why I love it so much. It's not my Luke Skywalker. I wish that they would have done that plot differently. But, what are you going to do? You can't get it all. This is the movie where Rey shines. Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill, this is his best movie. This is the best acting he's ever done in his life.
Yep.
And so it's special. And you guys already know that I'm in the bag for Rian Johnson in the first place, but I really, really, really love The Last Jedi. And so for me, that is the winner of this decade. But I know that I lose because you guys picked Rogue One, and that's fine, even though there is a lot about that movie that is wrong. But please.
Fair enough. I mean, just remind everyone, Shakespeare in Love won Best Oscar over Saving Private Ryan.
Yes, it did.
Yes,
it did. Crash won.
Oh no,
Crash
that was
terrible movie.
Oh yeah, Crash was terrible. I mean, come on, people. Oof, wow, boy, I tell you. All right, I got to get that thought out of my brain. So let's go to the best non-MCU Marvel movie, and the nominees are Logan from 2017, Deadpool from 2016, X-Men First Class from 2011, Venom from 2018, or Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 2018.
Go first here, Sean.
Okay, this is tougher than I thought. Because I love X-Men First Class. I love that movie. Actually, I love all of these movies except for Venom. Venom's fine, but it's not my favorite. I think I'm going to go X-Men First Class on this. And look, I love Deadpool. Deadpool made me laugh very, very hard. Very hard indeed. He knows he's in a movie. But I think X-Men First Class, because it was just so... Do you guys remember how surprising it was? It was like, wow! This movie is terrific.
It felt like...
I thought that I hated these movies, and I don't.
Yeah, when they announced it, it was just like, oh, no, this could turn out really, really bad. And it was great. It was unbelievable how they actually pulled it off.
And just because I've already given an award to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, that's the reason why I'm going to go X-Men First Class on this one.
Man, I'll go second here. And the first thing I want to say is let's take a moment to recognize this is a dead category in the next decade. I mean, there will probably be some non-MCU movies that Sony makes, but the big Spider-Man movies, those are still going to be MCU now. They worked out their problems there. So pour a little bit out for your non-MCU Marvel movie, because that's a dead category going forward. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, man, that is almost a life-changing movie. But being animation, it still carries like a little stigma, like it's animation, so it's got to be in its own category. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, Adam, but do many animated movies get nominated for Best Picture in things like Golden Globes and Oscars and stuff like that?
Fairly rarely.
Yeah, I never say never once again, because I'm sure there's some episodes like Snow White maybe or something.
And you'll never say never again.
Also not nominated.
Now, Venom was fun, and it was fun because we all expected it to be sheer horrible, and it was kind of like so bad it's good at times. So Venom, not the best non-MCU Marvel movie. X-Men First Class, Once again, part of what made it great was it kind of snuck up on us. Like, I think it hit us in a blind spot. We weren't expecting it to be great, but Matthew Vaughn, I'm almost as much a sucker for Matthew Vaughn as you are for Ryan Johnson over there, Sean. Deadpool is the biggest financial R-rated hit here on the list, I would say. But for me, Logan is really special to me. It's a father and his daughter, and also an aging parent, essentially, with Professor X there, and he's dealing with dementia. There's just so much here. Plus, it opens up this whole potential universe that will never get continued, but it was amazing. But like, to me, I think of Logan in the same context as, and I said this when we reviewed the movie, I think of it in the same context as those movies made in the mid to late 70s, like the golden age of directors in Hollywood. Like I compare Logan alongside those kind of movies, and it's definitely my favorite of the X-Men movies. And as good as Deadpool is, and as much as I really like comedy, Logan is the one that had me weeping openly in the theater in public, trying to pretend like I got popcorn salt in my eyes.
It's salt, I swear. Yeah,
raining on my face.
I think Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse probably would get the award normally, but I think Sean kind of convinced me a little bit, because we do have that as best animated, and that's fantastic, and it certainly deserves that category. But yeah, First Class was actually that was one of my initial kind of go-tos before. I was just like, oh, First Class, that seems to be the winner. Then I got on Spider-Verse, and I'm like, ooh, I don't know. But yeah, with that, with the caveat that you made there, we made that one thing. I do want to shed a little bit of light on X-Men First Class for, again, something that shouldn't have worked. I mean, we came off of X-Men 3, which Matthew Vaughn was supposed to direct. He kind of came up with most of the film, abandoned it at the last minute, and then Brett Ratner had to fill in. He did all, the best that he could with what he had, which wasn't great. And so him coming back to the X-Men franchise, first and foremost, was a surprise. That they were like, hey, let's let the guy who dipped on us come back and actually do something. And when he did, it was amazing and really a step back for X-Men. And really, when you look back at the last decade of X-Men films and everything, it is the one that truly stands out as the best. And so really, I got to go X-Men First Class on this one.
You just reminded me of something, Adam, which is that Days of Future Past. I love that movie so much.
Yeah, that's another real good one. That's
it's a toss up for me between X-Men First Class and Days of Future Past. I both of those movies are so rewatchable to me. I can literally watch them anytime.
I tried not to overload it on X-Men, but yeah.
No, I get it, man, and you're right to do so.
But for me personally, I liked Logan the best of the X-Men franchise, so I didn't really work too hard to get all three on there.
It's so funny, man. Well, we'll get to it later. I'll talk about it more later.
Best, go on, Adam. Let's see what
all right, next category, Best DC Movie. Here are the nominees. The Dark Knight Rises from 2012, Wonder Woman from 2017, Aquaman from 2018, Joker from 2019, or Shazam, also from 2019.
I think maybe you're on deck here, Adam.
Here's the thing. All of these are pretty good. Dark Knight Rises, probably the least of, oh gosh, I don't know. Yeah, probably the least of all.
No, it's not the least.
Aquaman is pretty bad. Really though, as much as I absolutely love Wonder Woman, I thought it was super great, there is something amazingly special about the Joker this year. And just Joaquin Phoenix's performance, the way that the movie is shot, another fantastic, we'll call it unreliable narrator Joker story type thing. Again, another one that they pulled off far better than I ever could have imagined that they would. And so best DC movie of the last decade, I'm going Joker.
I think you're up, Sean.
Okay. I love Wonder Woman. The third act is flawed, and it's rough, actually. The third act of Wonder Woman is pretty rough. Joker is a bummer. Aquaman is Dolph Lundgren being awesome and not much else. Dark Knight Rises is the weakest of the three. I'm going to go Shazam on this one. I really, really like Shazam.
Wow.
Like I said, that first 30 minutes are, it's kind of like, uh-oh. uh-oh, is this movie going to be any good? And then Zachary Levi shows up, and it's fantastic, so I'm going to go Shazam.
Once again, man, this category sort of a little insight into the state of hero movies this decade. The fact that we're kind of struggling to put 5 movies on the DC list. And if it was the decade prior, The Dark Knight's going to win hands down, and it's going to probably take at least 3 major awards. But now it's, we've got Aquaman in the list, which was successful financially, and I liked it, but not everybody did. Shazam, definitely a charming movie. Didn't have the financial success I think it deserves. Joker, the critical darling. Everything I said about Logan being like the late 70s movie, it's no big secret. Joker's the early to mid 80s movie here. But once again, I can be a sucker for that. I'm going with Joker.
Joker, best DC movie of the year. Let's transition over into the MCU best movie of the, or not of the year, rather, excuse me, of the decade. Pardon me.
Of the decade.
Of the decade. We've been decaying all throughout this decade. So next up is best MCU movie of the decade. We have The Avengers from 2012, Spider-Man Homecoming from 2017, Avengers Endgame from 2019, Captain America the Winter Soldier from 2014, or Black Panther from 2018.
And I'm up first here, and this is the reason we even have to split these between DC and MCU, because this would be the best hero movie of the decade category, most likely, running away with this whole subset of movie types out there. Looking at it all, Black Panther, a huge hit. I really enjoyed it. Like Michael B. Jordan, I was not alone in enjoying it. I'm really glad it got made. I'm really glad that it shut some people in the world up a little bit. Captain America, the Winter Soldier, is a great kind of cerebral hero movie, which is kind of cool, especially with the MCU, where you think they're making like the hits, they're making the crowd pleasers, but this one's actually cerebral, if you ask me about it. Endgame was pulling off the impossible, doing a stick in the landing on some ridiculously, ludicrously large expanded universe. Spider-Man Homecoming, bringing Spider-Man back into the MCU is huge, but that also you could say the same thing about Civil War, which didn't make the list. But for me, The Avengers is my favorite movie on this list. The Avengers was sort of proven for the first time you could do this sort of thing. I mean, ever since the latter Schumacher Batman movies, people said you try to squeeze too many characters into a movie and it's just a disaster. Well, the Avengers proved that that's not the case. And the Avengers was the first time I ever felt like I'm actually seeing something comparable to a comic book on screen. Any comic book movie out there, I don't know that there's any one that for me is as rewatchable as the Avengers. So I'm voting for the Avengers.
Very good. Who do you want? You want me to go next?
Sure, why not?
Listen, there's some fantastic films on here. Like I said, we've had a great decade of superhero films, but I think the one that really just kind of got me was Spider-Man Homecoming. Spider-Man and Batman are my 2 favorite characters of all time. I absolutely love Spider-Man, and this was just absolutely the best Spider-Man that we've ever seen. It just felt like everything that you wanted put into a Spider-Man, and we got the best kid to do it that we've ever had doing it, who is both a fantastic Peter Parker and a fantastic Spider-Man. All of the even beyond that film, going into his other stuff, it's all great, and I love it so much. And this is the movie that really kind of again, I can't believe this came out of Sony. They had some help from from outside a little bit, but mostly it's a Sony thing. And the fact that they hit it off this well, shocking to me, absolutely shocking. So best MCU movie of the decade, I gotta go Spider-Man Homecoming.
To me, best movie of the decade, because I'm a white guy. I'm a white guy.
What?
Black Panther's a great movie, but I am a white guy. The best MCU movie is The Avengers. There'd be nothing else if The Avengers failed. And The Avengers is a just terrific movie. It's not my favorite. My favorite on this list is Captain America Winter Soldier. I love that movie with a blinding passion. I love that movie. But The Avengers is the best movie of the decade. So I guess I have to vote for The Avengers because it is the best one. But my favorite one is Captain America: Winter Soldier.
No, and listen, I absolutely agree. I think you guys are dead on correct with this one because you're right. Without this, I don't know that the DCU looks like it does right now. They just did it. They did it. They did the kind of impossible. It was that long home stretch to get there, and they did it, and it was absolutely amazing. So, a well-deserved best MCU movie of the last decade, The Avengers from 2012. Biggest surprise of the decade. Here's where we come up with a couple of things that surprised us throughout these 10 years, and here are the nominees. Everyone knowing who the Guardians of the Galaxy are now. Venom without Spider-Man isn't terrible. Into the Spider-Verse is amazing. The X-Men ended terribly, or everyone saw the Joker. What is the biggest surprise of the decade?
I think I'm leading this one off.
All righty.
Or is Sean leading this one off? Or does it matter?
Who cares?
Doesn't matter to me.
Go ahead, Sean.
To me, it's the Guardians of the Galaxy. And that's also where, Marvel not only can figure out how to make the Avengers work, but also they have a fastball now. Like they got to change here where, we're making a smaller movie. We're making Guardians of the Galaxy, which was the big question mark from everyone, if you remember at the time. Like, how are they making that movie? And it was amazing. And so for me, that's the biggest surprise of the decade.
I'm going to start off by saying the X-Men ended terribly. That wasn't a surprise to me. I kind of felt that coming.
they gave you they gave you 3 movies to let you know it was coming in hot.
Yeah. In fact, it's not even the first time that an X-Men series ended terribly in the hands of Fox, and it was the same story. Believe it or not.
What do you know?
Everyone saw the Joker. I am surprised that it has just shattered records for R-rated movies. But, Spider-Man was the biggest hero of all time at Marvel up until Robert Downey Jr. brought Iron Man onto the screen and kind of changed things up. And Batman was the biggest hero from DC until Heath Ledger brought the Joker onto the screen. And then people got really obsessed with the Joker at that point. So there's going to be curiosity, if nothing else, about the Joker. So it's not as much of a surprise as some of the other things. Venom without Spider-Man isn't terrible, but it also isn't something that needs to keep going. Everyone knows. I would go more than saying everyone knows who the Guardians of the Galaxy are now. There are 8, 9, 10-year-olds whose all-time favorite superhero is Drax or Rocket the Raccoon. I mean, that is ridiculous. It is ridiculous that stuff I used to be proud that I'm the weird kid that likes Rocket Raccoon or Drax or Groot. And now I'm just like, I'm bandwagon now if I say I like a talking raccoon in space.
Everybody likes that. What are you, stupid? Come on. And that's why it is. It's the biggest surprise of the decade. Everyone knows who Guardians of the Galaxy is. Like I said, hearing people having outside conversations that you're privy to, and you go, people are talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy as if it were like X-Men from 2000. It's crazy. It's insane how many people know that the Guardians, and not only that they know them, that they enjoy them, that they think that they're really, really good. I mean, Star-Lord is a Halloween costume, for crying out loud. Wow, what a world we live in. Tropes from the next category here, tropes from the decade that we never want to see again. These are horrible things that we see in movies many, 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 many times. And which one do we want to see just disappear and never come back again the most? We'd like to see them all go away, but which one do you want to see go away the most? And the nominees are the 3-point superhero stance. You guys all know that one. Needless reboots. Looking at you, Hellboy. Blue laser either going to or coming from the sky, CGI monster at the end of the movie, or superhero as Jesus. A lot of big contenders here that we've seen umpteen million times. Which one do you want to see go the most?
Am I up first this time around? Okay. So the 3-point superhero stance is going to be, it already happened in Deadpool. Yeah, the first Deadpool, I think it's already happening. Now it's done. Now it's done ironically. It's done with a wink at the camera. Everybody knows you can't do the 3-point superhero stance now without it being a gag or a joke or winking at yourself, or I don't know, on a sitcom on the CW or something. So that's fine. We're going to see it in a different context. Needless reboots. We'll get back to that one. blue laser either going to or coming from the sky. I don't think we're going to lose that one as easily as we'd like. It just seems to work well. You got to speak with your wallets, people. Don't buy 4 separate tickets to a movie if you're tired of blue lasers.
You go see it once and then report back to your family, blue laser or not, and then they will or will not go to that movie based upon your viewing of said laser. Is that what you're getting?
Great app. Is there a blue laser at the end? Like you just check the app before you buy your ticket. CGI monster at the end of the movie. Look, sometimes movies need monsters at the end, and if it's not CGI, then what's it going to be? Superhero is Jesus. Okay, I'm going to be walking on some thin ice here, guys. But, you understand, like, the Campbellian structure of myths. And, well, let's just say that there are some people that think that Jesus isn't the first even Jesus is a superhero as Jesus. Like there's a reason that stories are structured in the way that they are. And I think that sort of classic heroic arcs and structures going to stick around for a long time. That one's not going to go away. So I'm going to go back to needless reboots, man. This is the winner from the last 3 decades for me. It's the trope I wish we would never see again, but we keep seeing it. Needless reboots.
There's money in them there reboots, as they say. For me, I'm going blue laser coming from or going to the sky. It is a trope. When the fact that it's become a thing online that everybody kind of points to, and it becomes a meme, and everyone's just laughing at it, going like, "Oh, look at that! Got another one." It's got to go. It's got to go. You have to start turning expectations on their head and not keep producing the same thing over and over and over again, and then wondering why people don't like it.
That's all.
For me, I'm going CGI monster at the end of the movie because DC did that a lot this decade.
Well, the problem was that it was like a boring CGI monster. It wasn't even a good one.
And I probably should have put an adjective or two in front of it. But it's like gray, blobulous, nothing that has no weight to it, and you're just looking at nothing. And
no personality.
Nothing. Yeah, no personality to it. It's just big, dumb thing. And so, to me, that's the thing that's got to go. Because needless reboots sometimes work great. Because for every amazing Spider-Man that comes out, because that's the needless reboot of the Spider-Man franchise right there.
Yeah.
You also get Star Wars. You also get, to a lesser extent, X-Men. And so, the needless reboots, whatever. But for me, it's uncomplicated CGI monster at the end of the movie.
Yeah, I think I can get behind that and double up your CGI monster at the end, or boring CGI monster that has no personality, no nothing, and clearly feels like the last boss in a video game that you have to fight, and not something that once you've got to that fight, you're like, oh, I have so much invested in this story and these characters and everything that the outcome of this fight means something to me. I don't like having that being absent from film. Alrighty, so let's get it on here. Here is the last couple special awards here. These are ones that were nominated previously and will have accepted their awards off mic, so that's an important thing to do note. The biggest, this one is called the Where You At Award winner, and the winner for that one is Why the Last Man? We've been talking about Why the Last Man possibly becoming a television show for some time now. It feels like, 2 years we've probably been talking about it?
Ever since the first episode of Superhero News that we did, or whatever we would call those little throwaways.
Oh, yeah. See,
we've been talking about this for 6 years.
Yeah, so 6 years, this Why the Last Man has been coming around, and that's come on. Let's get the show going. It sounds like they're starting to move into production, so that's a good sign.
Rumors of 2020, man.
Let's hope it happens. Pardon me. Biggest turnaround winner was Sony. For a company that was really on the verge of just honestly selling off all of its movie division and everything, because Sony does a lot of things in Japan, not just movies and electronics. But they were looking to sell that movie, the movie franchise, or the movie division off, they were like, let's see how the Emoji Movie did. That's really what they were banking on at that point, was the Emoji Movie.
What?
But then they come around and, the Spider-Man movie happens, and then Into the Spider-Verse happens, and Sony really, and then, of course, on top of that, outside of even superheroes, they had Once Upon a Time in Hollywood on their docket this year. Sony has really turned it around, and I think very much deserving of this award.
There are two directions one can turn. So you could also say Fox had quite the biggest turnaround too.
That's very true. But then again, I think at the same time that's a leg up for Fox. So they were fine. Now they're better than fine. So they were bad, but they weren't Sony level bad where they were toying around with the idea of Men in Black meets 21 Jump Street. Which
might have been a good movie.
We found that out via the hack Sony emails, and no, that was an absolutely terrible idea. And our last award here is giving us the most superhero content anyone could imagine, and the winner for that one is Disney, man, because Disney, through their acquisition of Fox, as we talked about, as well as all the stuff that they're putting out on Disney Plus, all the things that just from the stuff that we're going to be getting for next year alone. It's just amazing how much superhero stuff Disney has given us. And so we say thank you to the almighty D.
And Disney Plus, man. Hopefully that stays a good value for a couple more years.
Certainly hope so. And, especially with what they've done with, like, Mandalorian and, like, I'm telling you, the end of that season is, like, I can't wait for this second season to start, and we're going to have to wait all the way till fall to get it. But, another reason to stay subscribed to Disney Plus, everybody.
Another reason to keep on living.
Yeah, exactly. Don't end it. You got to get to the Mandalorian season 2, for heaven's sake.
Hey, finding out who shot JR kept my uncle alive for like 18 months.
But we hope the lights don't go out in Georgia on this show or the rest of all of you fine people. And we'd like to thank you all for joining us on this extra long Best of the Decade edition of HMP. And again, we'd like to thank each and every one of you for listening to the show, reviewing us on iTunes or anywhere else that you find podcasts. We don't mention this enough, but we also have a store. If you want to get like a T-shirt or something, if you don't want to become a regular Patreon member, that's A-OK. Just hit the little shop HMP thing in the show notes and whatnot. Get yourself like a T-shirt or an art print or some sort. We put our bull crap on a lot of things, and if you would like to have some of that in your life, go ahead and do that as well. But again, thank you to everyone who supports us over at patreon.com/HMP. You guys stick around because in your feed, you are going to have the Dinger Zone where we're going to be talking a little bit about the past, present, and future of HMP. Before we talk about what we're going to do next week, in the meantime, Bruce, where can we find your work on the internet?
Almost nowhere else, man. We went from doing something every day to ending all at once. So go check out Facebook or something. I don't know.
I've seen people that are just now finishing up Watchmen. Mandalorian's still very new, so I suggest everybody go out and listen to those the Redford Administration and Mandalorian 30 Questions. Both have a lovely 30 question format where we go back and forth and talk about a lot of good stuff. And yeah, Sean, are you on the internet? I hear your sweet Seansy from the internet, but where on the internet are you?
I'm on the Twitter. I'm at Sean Kovacs 4 under the name Sweet Seansy from the internet ! The exclamation point is very important. Quite often for someone who doesn't have the time to be on there.
And if ever you're looking for fantastic goods at amazing prices, his Twitter accounts, that's where you go.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Links are in the show notes as well. So next week, we're going to be talking Super Lopez. I'm not sure what that is either, but it's an adaptation of a comic strip, and just think from the looks of it, Latino Superman in some way, shape, or form. So I'm excited for it. So check that out. That is on Netflix right now. That's it, everybody. Thank you for joining us for 2019 and for the last, 6 years of HMP, but for the decade of superhero movies as well that we've celebrated here today. And we just want to remind you guys to stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Evie.